Good morning, everybody. It's MJ from Love. It's 2:22 in the morning. I was up, like, what is time even? It just has no meaning to me whatsoever anymore because you guys know that I've been clearing stuff and it's like the peak now. So it's like peaking with the coughing and the horking and the hacking of the green goo, which is just aeons of junk DNA. Anywho, I'm, I'm at 8. I'm super looking forward to basically having like a full day of editing. I want to get the majority, if not all, of my awesome interviews edited and complete so that I can just focus the last few days of this month on the tutorials and then putting together all the writing for you guys. And I'm really, really, really excited to be launching Ulta Vegan Love. And I'm getting like collaborative requests from people who want to create their own online courses. And it's a really exciting, blossoming venture for Ulta Love. There's, as you guys know, also like practical ground control projects that are beginning to kind of percolate, brew, which is really exciting. So this is sort of a rant, you could say. This is a little bit of a rant, but I feel it's like notable because I really resonate with it and how I cross it over to just general shaming and obviously with this title, Divide and Conquer Tactic. So any divide and conquer tactic is putting shit on people. It's making those people out there bad, wrong, shitty. And of course we do it. I talk about it in yoga industry. I talk about it in a lot of our privileged spiritual communities where it's comfortable to just sit around and talk about, well, for example, sustainability, because the topic of this share, hey lady, how are you? Lady Blue. And you guys know that this has been coming up for me a fair bit anyway, the talk about entitlement and the talk of privilege and how it's comfortable. And so maybe it's easier to get away with not addressing some of these deeper energetic wounds of enslavement. Of course, if you're the one more in the power seat, you don't necessarily want to have to look at what your behavior has caused, or, if it's shitty, especially if you're putting out an image of holier than thou, love and light, yada yada. And there again, like behind closed doors or in business dealings or what have you, the love and light goes out the door. And we end up, it's like the shadow comes out, right? And this is, what I'm like, you guys. I'm always, hey there, beauty and the soul. I feel like that was Cameron before. You've changed your handle name, haven't you? So I just want to say straight up, I do apologize if I'm coughing. It's not like nice to be coughing whilst talking with you guys, but oh, hi, Julie. Hello, Julie. How are you? So these shares, you guys know, there's not a huge amount of attachment here. It's just noodling. I'm noodling with my own self. Hey, April. As far as like outworking a distortion. It's a distortion how I feel into it on some level. So I need to show you the post. Now, I don't necessarily want to like out the person that I found the post on, but I'll share the post that almost instantly kind of triggered me. Hi, Charlene. Charlene, you're new to me. Your handle. Hello, welcome. But it popped out to me the other day as well. So, pardon me. I don't think this is going to be the long one, right? Thank you. Yeah, beauty. I do as well, right? The polarity. I want it to be pure love and light, you guys. I just am a human who still has reactions towards things. And like, and again, I'm somebody, even with all this new agey self-love, yoga, meditation, I've always been aware of this sort of angle with this stuff as a privilege piece, that be mindful of not using yoga to power over people. Be mindful of not using anything at all. So whether it's spirituality or whether it's banking on Wall Street, if you're powering over, manipulating, not being honest with yourself, it doesn't really matter if you're asking someone to wear a white robe or asking someone to go out and make more money. There's some kind of enslavement tactic, and this stuff is really subtle. And so it's not about like, nothing in me ever wants to make people feel bad, but there is definitely a drive from within to root out the suffering, you know, like root out the junk DNA in this human collective consciousness. Otherwise, like, what's the point? Otherwise, we're just going to keep telling stories of darkness and despair, and that just breaks my heart, really, right? Precisely. I just look down and say, don't use your spirituality as a badge for your ego, which I think we get that because maybe we've done it. I probably have done it. I certainly have done it. And then you kind of see it, and then you see other people doing it, and you're like, ugh! And you're like, I have to kind of, hey, Matthew. Beauty and indie soul, yeah. I would say empathy is just the gift. It's such a gift for this world, and a lot of us as empaths, I think, have felt like that we're cursed, that something is seriously effing wrong with us, and like finally, suddenly, there's like these tidal turns, this energetic awareness, this rising empathy, and we're like, oh my God, we're not close at all, you know, like, we're here to assist, we're here to support, we're here to love people, but our learning how to heal and protect ourselves is of utmost importance, right? Hi, Mike. Yeah, I feel like this stuff came not just like a clear out vibrationally from within, but it was like coming in through the vortex. It was like I started to notice a lot of people were coming down with stuff. Sometimes people use spiritual experiences as strength through the wounded child aspects. Describe that a little bit more if you want to. Because I'm like curious about, do you mean like the bypassing? So like they use the spiritual, like I get that. Like we need the spiritual practices, you know, and I guess this is the thing about having these sorts of discussions. I'm very aware of myself. I'm like, am I just judging? Am I just being hard on somebody? And yeah, that's probably true. And yet addressing certain things to me, I think is just shining light. It's rooting stuff out. And again, this whole weird privilege, entitlement, this stuff is a big piece because I noticed when I went to study in India, the yoga in India, I'm like, who do you think were the main people practicing and studying yoga in India? They weren't the poor people in India. They're the wealthy white people going to India and spending money on this trendy yoga thing. Or the incredibly wealthy or the well-connected families in India who practice yoga. So there's an elitist practice in the mainstream convention of this stuff, right? Similarly, what I'm noticing now with the vegan or the spirit or the zero waste or what have you, you know, spirituality is this, that there's always going to be a polarity. There's always going to be. So I want you guys to read that for me. Is it upside down? So it says, sustainability is like teenage sex. Everybody says they're doing it. Very few people are actually doing it. And those that are doing it badly. So there's just like a whole bunch of like trigger in that. For one, I'm like, holy shit, could we not be hard on teenagers? Could we literally put more pressure on teenagers to make them feel even more shit about how shit life is and how fucked up sex is, right? So there is an element of accountability as a culture for this sort of comment. Sustainability. It's like, well, what the fuck? Like, this is actually a fairly relevant new mainstream conversation. And yet I'm aware, and this is like, these are, again, like not sadly, but like like, again, there's this polarity of like, these are people doing amazing things in the world. These are people raising awareness and cleaning up beaches and leading sustainability movements. So these are people pioneering sustainability on this planet, which is amazing, which is what we want. And for some reason, they're having a bad day going, oh, fuck this, like nobody's doing sustainability, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, get off the pedestal for a moment, pull the wrench out of your wazoo and take a deep breath. Especially if we're privileged white middle-class people on this planet who are pioneering these movements. And it's so easy to, like, because the reason that triggered me is that kind of comment reminds me of people coming to my yoga classes going like, oh yeah, I went to a yoga class like 3 years ago and the teacher made me feel really bad because I couldn't do a pose. Like, we're only just getting started on the sustainability card, and the sustainability pioneers are already going to make everybody feel shit about how shit they are at sustainability, when for a lot of people, they're only just seeing it. Like, they're only going, oh my God, plastic? Huh? Plastic? And then they find this and they go, sustainability, you're shit. You're shit at it, basically. And I'm going, oh my God, we're not even fucking aware. So one, let's not put down teenagers for how they're doing sex, because collectively across the board, there's some issues around our sexuality for sure. The fact that porn is incredibly rife in a black fucking underbelly of our culture, and yet we just don't talk about it. Instead, let's just dump on our teenage people for not knowing how to do it properly. Or doing it in the shadows because adults don't fucking talk about it, because, you know what I mean? I'm just like, there's so much hurty. Hi! Okay, good. You're such wazoo. Hi, MJ. Hi, Banu. How are you? Beauty, I'm going right up to your comment there about totally. And like, you guys, if you've been here around me coughing, this is like, the last time I had any clear out like this was like 3 years ago. 3 years ago is when I did another big leap though. So I'm like, oh, and I know that this is connected to the solar flare, to the equinox. We're approaching this belt now, right? And like, I'm a speaker, you know, I'm a speaker. So it's like, and again, I'm weirdly just proud of myself for the fact that I can show up and that I can hold space for myself, because most of my life when I'd get this, I'd like go into this crazy shame spiral. Hi, you guys. Thanks for sharing light and speaking loud openly. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way, right? Hi, Matthew. I understand. I think that's why honestly, that's why a lot of us resonate here, is because we're quite natural introvert. And introverts we just restore alone. And yet this is part of connecting here, is that we wanted to find people that we can connect with, but in a really like in a totally authentic way. So like the empath sensitivity can feel like when people need space, can feel when people's stuff is coming up, like unless somebody was like, MJ, I believe you were shunned from speaking up on collective importance. For sure. I love that you guys see that. Yeah, for sure. Well, and sometimes it wasn't even necessarily like it wasn't even like a grand life or anything. It was just the presence. That's how I kind of feel into it and remember it a lot of time. It has. And like, this is now what, like, sharing this stuff with you guys randomly brings me into this sense of like the unity of our whole experience as a soul. And suddenly there becomes no separation between past life, because in the unity self of the presence here now, I'm only ever that presence. So past life, extraterrestrial life, multidimensionality, all of that is in the here now. And yet how beautiful and miraculous that we like, boom, like this is our choosing. Our choosing is to be the incarnate in here, in these vessels, in the now, on this planet Earth, which I'm just like, oh, Paul, amazing. What is life? Okay, what is life? That's like my trigger word for back to the topic. Limited, yeah, limited via, the darkness and the frequencies available to the earth. Now that we're moving into the binary solar system, we're actually expanding threefold the frequencies. Again, I say these things, I don't even know where they come from. Never heard anything like that before. The frequencies expanding threefold, which is us bringing ourselves into the Trinity, which is the unification of the mother, father, and we birth ourselves as the child. So we are the new. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, so yeah, that was kind of it. It's sort of like a bit of a rant type share as far as like, and I always want to be accountable. I'll take videos down or posts down if I suddenly go, oh, maybe that's a bit negative, or like, and I guess it's just like how easy it is to just dump on people, and like, and only because like I get it and I know it. I'm like, it's so easy to dump on people who are having a bad day, or the fact that the majority of our human consciousness collective is sort of being bombarded with mass propaganda to make them, sorry guys, to make them consume. And this whole sustainability thing isn't in people's awareness when they have to work and pay bills and have the children and the childcare and they're budgeting and they're like, I don't know, should I get the frozen pizza or should I get the fresh pizza? Well, the fresh pizza is like $3 more, but it's organic. But I don't know, that $3 could actually probably buy Bobby Joe a little bit of a toy, and that would make it like I would say the majority of like the masses are still under so much strain and pressure just to survive, that the sustainability, and again, a lot of the people who pioneer these movements, they're privileged and they have the luxury to kind of go after it. And that's something I can recognize as well. I'm not a millionaire. I've not necessarily had lots of like handouts necessarily, but I'm definitely privileged, and I have to put myself in that category because I'm white and I'm middle class. And my dad worked really hard his whole life, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful for that. And my mom was an empath, sensitive, intuitive, who couldn't find her, who was depressed most of my life. And then watching her heal her depression through meditation and mindfulness and take huge monumental leaps in her life at 30 years my senior, I'm like, yeah, this shit works. But we often have to learn the lessons we don't want to have to learn, that we don't learn in privilege. And because my mother really did come from that aspect of entitled privilege, and to watch the lessons we learn is incredibly humbling. And also it brings us back into the unity of like, I don't want to dump on people for not being aware of the crises that we're in. I would much rather just the pioneers pioneer it, and then let people jump over. Don't pioneer it and then suddenly go, oh, people are really shit. We're all a bit shit, but we're all really awesome as well. And I think being positive about this stuff is incredibly useful. Yeah, right. I know. And beauty and D, I fully oh yeah, I get you guys, right? Like accountability for all of us. And like this is the thing. I'm like, now I'm going, oh God, and like I don't want to be hard on this person or these people for posting stuff. I don't want to like diss on them, but again, it hit me of like these movements, this vegan, this sustainability, this freedom, this love, these movements really you really want to kind of just stay, and I guess that's all it is, and that's my own personal reminder, is just stay focused on the love. Just stay focused on your work rather than looking around at how nobody else is aware and no one else is spiritual and no one else is sustainable as me, and you're like bleh. And but at the same time it's like, yeah, it gets tough. That's why Katie and I produce Zenful Zero Waste, is partly because when Katie was pioneering it and I was like, let's do a course, she had an effing emotional breakdown in a supermarket because she was really, really hungry, and like she literally couldn't find anything that was zero waste, and she had a bloody breakdown, like crying her eyes out. And one of her friends was like, Katie, this is ridiculous. We're getting you a bag of crisps. Fine, you can have an apple. And then that's when we called it Zenful zero waste, is that none of us are here doing veganism or doing zero waste stuff or doing plastic free or doing spirituality to be able to turn around and go, see, look how good we are. Look how important we are. Look, recognize us. Look how special we are. If anything, I'd much rather not have to do any of that and just have a proper systematic change, a functional systematic change where all the big biz, all the big corp, and all the big governmental leading agencies, they're responsible. If they become responsible, then the whole world, we don't have to worry about any of this, because all of the product being created gets changed to be sustainable, and then we're all good to go, right? But having our little movements and then dumping on one another for not being aware enough, I don't think is necessarily helpful. And it triggers me because I'm like, I'm somebody who's always put an incredible amount of pressure on herself. And now I've gotten to this point where, like, you know, you're doing the best that you can. And I'm somebody who would read that comment and just go, like, fuck you, what's the point? I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I can't, yeah, what's the point of being sustainable if I can't even do it properly, right? And then that's what it says. Like, and those that are doing it badly. So I'm somebody who would just be like, well, what's the point? I might as well not even try. And yet maybe other people would read that and go, like, okay, let's do it more. Let's be better. Let's be more sustainable, right? And so to each their own, I suppose, right? So true. This is what I mean, Beauty and D. And I want to call you Cameron. Hey, Eddie, how are you? Oh my God, like totally, you guys. So in the Fearless Life Guide, step 2 is judgment, the block to bliss. And when I first launched the book and I sat the book content as a course for people, like there was only 12 of us sitting the course, but at least half of the people sitting the course didn't make it past step 2. Just legit. And it's not a diss, it's just that's what happened. People stopped reading. People couldn't, it was like cognitive dissonance. They couldn't quite get that, like, what? Like, so that attack is my, like, integrating. And I put judgment and forgiveness together. We need the band-aid of forgiveness perpetual to forgive ourselves for that projection. That's, to me, the unity Christ, right? Yeah, exactly. We gotta show the way. And I love you guys and I love these chats, but when I'm out in the public world, I don't talk very much at all. And I'd much rather just quietly do my little thing and be presence and be love for people than try to engage in, like, who's right, who's wrong, who's doing it properly, who's not. But going back to the Zenful piece, like, so because all this stuff, this whole crisis, all these problems can be so freaking overwhelming that we got to be Zenful about it. I.e., if you're really hungry, eat food and have the packaging, because at the end of the day, we can clean up this world, but we can't clean it up overall being super down on each other for how shit we are, because so many of us, that's like our whole lives of just like, wow, I've just felt my whole life of not being good enough, just being a piece of pile of shit, and I'm finally starting to feel better. And then each chance it's like, oh, you're not doing that yoga pose very good, are you? Or, oh, you're not even doing sustainability properly, and you're like so yeah, that's me. Introverted, extrovert, MJ, same here. Yeah, and I'm really only extrovert in this platform. This is like the weird, and I have a friend who's a musician. He's also super introvert, but like his career is to get up on stage and play music and sing for people. You know, my career, I can easily be on stage and speak to like hundreds of people. I've done performances in front of like thousands of people. I could sit here and, well, I'm comfortable talking to all you guys. You guys are like my besties, basically. But like, I'm comfortable talking here, but like in a social environment or after a concentrated amount of time in a group consciousness, yeah, I get zapped. It's the classic introvert of like, for me to restore, I then need to like withdraw and just be alone. And like the aloneness is really what like tops up my energy reserves. Mhm, mhm. And, like, in fairness, there's a lot of social time that I think we're having to reevaluate. So there's just a lot of dominant social environments that I would not choose to be in. I don't go into pubs anymore. Um, Everything is en flow. So for me, like the next project, I've spoken of this, finding earth, finding land, building these little all to love kind of retreat centers or whatever. This is kind of co-creating new paradigm activity, and then to come together in celebration and ritual in a more harmonious sacred way, right? Which I think for a lot of us, we realize that's what's lost, because the culture, the dominant 3D paradigm culture, is disconnected from the heart. So everything that is there is represented and is true, i.e. partying, we do want to celebrate, i.e. going to church, we do want sacred connection, but the illusion of it is what's distorted. It's an illusion of external seeking and idol worship rather than the integral function of human connectivity. So we as the empath are going, oh, king! Like we're having to reconnect, remember, and then project into the field these more harmonious sacred geometric tribes, which we know in a way, we just haven't created. I think we're birthing it now. So you guys, Eddie, hey man, nice to see you. You're new to my world, my awareness. Chic, it's so true. It's I can't say chic without going into French accent. Chic équilibre. Right, Charlene? And I feel that, and I think that's probably where the Alta Love Mish is headed. It's like, it's not like necessarily totally through choice that we want to be alone and isolated. We've part of the way I see it through our progressive, through our continual, pardon me, the progressive timeline of our multiple incarnations, that's brought about disparity. It's like we all got broken apart as one tribe, as one unified frequency belt, as like the rainbow. The rainbow all got split apart, which is why we're all over the world. And why it's been so isolating is that each lifetime we kind of got more and more further apart. This is a weird insight, might be relevant for some of you, but one of my recollections was actually that my last life was so traumatic. And in this lifetime, as a very young child, I had a dream about this life and the torture chamber. And the torture was so painful for me and my soul that I left. And this is a rare thing to do as a soul incarnate, but I went to a different star system, i.e. my own source point, to heal my soul, because that experience is so traumatic. It doesn't mean I don't have to reclaim the unity in this lifetime, but for some of us, it might be that, and your point of birth would have a signifier there. So a lot of us that had maybe complications during birth, or like in my example, when I was conceived, my gestation period in my mother's womb nearly killed her. And the way I equate that was to do with where my frequencies were into conception. So, and that the fact that we survive is the miracle, right? And so, or the mother survives is the miracle of birth. And so we are that. And then, and so that's a big part of the kind of remembering our souls journeying, right? And it's like, and that's also about neutrality, because again, war is not necessarily inherently evil or wrong. It's just that's the symbolic representation of our own inner conflict. Because I have recollection of actually being in galactic wars, like literally flying around in little jets in or Star Wars, and shooting down different spacecraft that were wanting to take down a certain star system. So it's like, it's all there. It's all there, right? Thank you, Chic Équilibre. Chic Équilibre. Chic Équilibre. You need a song. There needs to be a song for your name, I think. Beauty. Sometimes I feel like our bodies are born in the right place. but our hearts are activated. Oh my God, that really resonates with me. I've never heard anyone say that. Shiki does good music, does he? I know, and I really love your I love your channel as well. It's really fun. Dude, skateboarding in the wintertime, hi, amazing. Yeah, that resonates, Beauty, as far as why we're being guided, how we understand the linear perspective of being guided on a path. It's that what is guiding us is the heart. Once we arrive at the heart center, we're on the new timeline. Once we're on a new timeline, we're really no longer under a spell, although we might have to work through, like being in the residue, being in the clearing. This is where I'm still clearing out this spell that I was under most of my life in the 3D contract, on the 3D matrix construct. But now in the heart frequency, there's new timeline, new paths unfolding, and we're all helping each other make sense of it, right? Charlene, Beauty, you guys are epic. I'm really, really happy when I get to catch you live like this. It thrills me to no end, really. I feel like I might want to go over these comments a little bit more, but anywho, you guys, thanks for listening to my rant. Thank you for being here. I love you all so much. And you guys have a glorious day. Don't forget that you can check out all the goods here. Oh, let's not put a triple L, just 2 L's. altalove.com. That's where you guys can book sessions and book onto my retreat in June, and just email me the goods of who you are and what you're up to, and I'll look forward to loving you and supporting you on your expansive journey. Oh, and don't forget to check out our online courses list. That's the big piece, MJ. Don't forget to tell people about these courses you create. They're important to you and the world. Love you guys. I'm going to be an editing machine today. And so, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like, editing. No, it's not at all. Love you guys. Let me check. Let me double check. Peace, everybody. Mega love to you, and I look forward to speaking to you guys real soon. Lots of love.